it's time to let the dogs out and follow the wolf pack as we look into the outrageous comedy that is The Hangover. Released in 2009, The Hangover tells the story of four friends who head out for a weekend in Las Vegas to celebrate their friend Doug's upcoming wedding. The only problem is, after a night of partying, Phil, Stu and Alan wake up dazed and confused, with absolutely no recollection of what happened the night before. And what's worse, Doug is missing. So the three hungover friends must retread their steps from the night before in order to find out what happened so they can find Doug, where they embark on a crazy adventure involving lost babies, stolen police cars, missing satchels, or is that a purse, and Mike Tyson's tiger, in this ultimate bromance comedy which made big stars out of Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and Zach Galifianakis.
Oh boy, what a night. Ooh, that was one hell of a party. I don't even remember anything. Go on, Christopher Walken, go be free. Oh man, I literally cannot remember anything about last night. All I do know is that I wanted to go as McFly, but I ended up going as McFries. So while I try and remember last night's events and get over this hangover, I thought we'd look into 10 things that you didn't know about the hangover. It seems really appropriate right now, so let's check it out.
You were literally too stupid to insult.
Thank you.
Number 10, inspired by a real event. Yes, believe it or not, but The Hangover was motivated by real events. Somewhat. The script for The Hangover was written by American scriptwriters John Lucas and Scott Moore, and they took inspiration from an incident in which film and TV producer Tip Vinson went out to Vegas to celebrate his Bucks night with his friends. However, as the night went on, the Bucks night had lost its groom, as Vinson was nowhere to be seen. Vinson blacked out and then regained consciousness at an exotic dancing bar, without any recollection of what had previously happened. Where once he woke up at the bar, he found that he had a really large bill to pay. Lucas and Moore wrote their script for The Hangover and sold it to Warner Brothers for $2 million.
Is it awesome?
It's pretty awesome.
We'll take it.
Number 9, then there were rewrites. As of 2007, the script for The Hangover was part of what's known as a blacklist at Warner Brothers, which meant a selection of scripts that Warner Brothers had which had not yet been turned into movies with the anticipation of filming them. When Todd Phillips came on board as director, he and filmmaker Jeremy Gaelick rewrote the script. Phillips added many elements to the scripts, some of which would become the most memorable parts of The Hangover, including Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson's tiger, the stolen cop car, and the baby. However, due to the Writers Guild, Phillips and Gaelick couldn't get any writing credits for their contribution to the script. The Hangover was backed by Legendary Pictures, which was a relatively new production company back then. The company had produced several movies like Lady in the Water and Ant Bully, but it was better known for producing comic book movies like Batman Begins, Superman Returns, 300, The Dark Knight, and Watchmen. In fact, I can remember watching The Hangover for the very first time and seeing that logo, and thinking, wait, is Batman and Superman going to be in this film? Are they the ones that are going to be hungover? If so, that's pretty awesome. Number 8, casting possibilities. In the original script, the socially inept and childlike Alan character was written slightly different to how he would go on to be seen on the big screen. There were several big names being thrown around as to who could play the part. These include Jake Gyllenhaal, Jack Black, and Jonah Hill. However, those guys didn't get the role. Instead, Zach Galifianakis did, with the script being altered with the Alan character being written more in Galifianakis' style. Also in The Hangover, actress Heather Graham plays Jade, a kind, well-meaning Vegas escort who marries Stu during the Wolfpack's Vegas rampage. However, originally, Lindsay Lohan was offered the role, probably due to her wild party image that she had going on during the noughties. However, she turned the role down, but she would later go on to regret not taking the part. But still, Graham totally kills it in the role, so I guess you win some and you lose some. Number 7, Mike Tyson originally turned down the part. Bradley Cooper, Zach Galifianakis and Ed Helms were cast in the movie's three main leads of Phil, Stu and Alan. These three actors were already friends before filming begun, and actor Ed Helms claims that helped with the chemistry, and also helped with their humour with each other. Also noting that they are three very different people, but were still able to appreciate each other's humours and be able to play off that. However, one cast member who originally wasn't laughing was real-life boxer Mike Tyson, who plays himself, and gets involved in the caper when it's revealed that the Wolfpack stole his pet tiger. Tyson originally turned the role down, but once he found out that The Hangover's director, Todd Phillips, had previously directed the movie Old School, he had a change of heart and became more enthusiastic about the project and agreed to star in it.
Nice! Nice, guys!
Incidentally, in real life, Mike Tyson actually did have a pet tiger. 3 to be precise.
Tigers love pepper. They hate cinnamon.
It always gets me every time when the Stu character thinks that Mike Tyson is secretly a sweetheart. Ow, my head.
Number 6, board game. Yes, The Hangover was so popular it would go on to get a board game. Well, sort of. Basically, if you're one of those people that have wondered what would it be like if you mixed The Hangover with the game Clue, and let's face it, who hasn't, then you're in luck, as in 2018 there was a Hangover-inspired Clue game called Clue Lost in Vegas, with the tagline, "What happened last night?" The game is described as being more of a parody of Clue, and instead of solving a murder, you have to find your missing friend. The plot of the game is the same as The Hangover down to a T, where you play as a group of friends who meet up for a night on the town in Vegas, where the next day the friends wake up dazed and confused in a hotel room, with one of the friends missing, where along the way you have to pick up cards in order to find clues as to where your friend is and what happened to them. Hey, I suppose if they can make a Simpsons version of Clue, then anything goes. Number 5, filming location. Seeing how most of the movie revolves around a crazy weekend in Vegas, it should go without saying that the movie was filmed in Vegas, really capturing the excitement, glamour, and dirt and grit sleaziness of the city. Hey, it's still an enjoyable sleaziness. The actual Caesar's Palace Motel was used for filming, but the trashed room was a set. I guess the Caesar Palace management didn't have enough of a sense of humour to let the production actually destroy one of its luxury rooms. The Hangover's Las Vegas shoot lasted 15 days. Ed Helms will go on to say that the shoot was very physically demanding, which I'm not surprised, as the three main characters spend most of the movie running around, going from one action-packed set piece to another, looking sweaty and dehydrated. So the parts would have required the actors to be constantly full of energy and to not let their energy down, or otherwise the energy of the movie would have dragged down. But thankfully the three main actors pull it off. Ed Helms would go on to say that the part was so physically demanding, he lost 8 pounds during the shoot.
This probably explains why he had a much slimmer physique in the sequel.
Number 4, filming quirks. Naturally, The Hangover is a movie full of crazy happenings, with outrageous occurrences happening one after the other. So of course there would have been a few behind the scenes quirks which took place too. These include the taser scene. Apparently director Phillips wanted to use real tasers for that scene, but Warner Brothers wouldn't allow it. It's just as well as the Phil character gets shot in the junk. Ouch, that would have been painful. Another subplot in The Hangover revolves around the Stu character pulling his tooth out to prove that he is a doctor and not just a dentist. No special effects were required for that scene, as in real life Ed Helms never grew that adult tooth, where instead he got a tooth implant. And so for filming, he just took the implant out. Simple. Comedian actor Ken Jeong played the eccentric gangster Mr. Chow. However, Jeong's wife at first may not have been too happy with her husband appearing without any clothes on in the movie, as in order to film that scene, he had to get her permission. For the movie's trailer, digital underpants were added for that infamous scene. Having a tiger in the movie was achieved by using tiger props for some shots and an actual real-life tiger in other scenes. The shots of the real-life tiger was achieved by having handlers and trainers on set, who were then digitally removed from the footage. I wonder who the handlers were. Was it Carol Baskin? Oh, bitch. Number 3, French title change. It's very common for movies to get retitled when reaching markets in other countries, usually for translation reasons, like a term or phrase may not be as well known in other parts of the world, and thus when The Hangover was released in France, it was retitled to Very Bad Trip. And yes, when its sequels came out, it was still known as Very Bad Trip. I mean, don't get me wrong, Very Bad Trip totally works and goes with the movie, but why the title change? Well, according to a post on Reddit, because in France the term hangover is kind of old-fashioned, and also in France when someone is sick due to the events of a big night the night before, it's actually called Bad Trip. So the title Bad Trip would resonate more with French audiences. But I couldn't find any official claim, so take with that piece of information what you will. But regardless, in France, the Hangover movies are known as the Very Bad Trip movies. Number 2. The hotel room was recreated for tourists. Okay, this is where things get weird. The Hangover was such a big and popular movie, the Madame Tussauds Las Vegas division thought it'll get in on the action and chew some of that hangover sofa pizza by recreating the trashed hangover hotel room in the Las Vegas Museum, along with waxwork dummies of the characters, with Bradley Cooper looking really happy about the whole ordeal, all things considering, where tourists and fans could literally enter the world of The Hangover and take photos with Phil. To be fair though, I would totally check this out if I could. Other scenes from the movie were also recreated, like the wedding chapel, and there was even a hangover-themed cocktail bar. A bar that's called The Hangover. Well, at least that bar lets you know what you're in for. So if you're a fan of The Hangover and feel like you just need to get inside the movie and experience it for real, now you can by visiting Madame Tussauds at Las Vegas. No, that wasn't a paid promotion. I'm just saying, you know, it's a thing. It exists. Number 1. Highest grossing R-rated comedy of its time. The Hangover was huge when it came out, and I mean huge! It made nearly $470 million on a $35 million budget. It was the 10th highest grossing movie of 2009 and 8th highest grossing movie in that year in the States. It also became the highest grossing R-rated comedy of its time, a position previously held by Beverly Hills Cop, of which held that record for 25 years, but not anymore. Along comes The Hangover and took it off its pedestal. In fact, there was anticipation that The Hangover was going to be a hit, as the sequel went into production before the first movie's release. Even the DVD and Blu-ray releases of The Hangover were a big deal, with The Hangover becoming the best-selling comedy on DVD and Blu-ray. The critical reception was also fairly positive. Some critics noted the movie's vulgarity and over-the-topness, but some of those critics also felt the witty dialogue and genuinely funny moments made up for its vulgar moments. It's an enjoyable and genuinely funny movie that always makes me LOL myself. And it's oddly even a feel-good movie. It's the ultimate movie of bromance mixed in with the disorientation of having a big night, which I think most of us can relate to. But most of all, it's the story about a wolf pack and the tale of 3 best friends that anyone could have.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
What?
Do what? Let the dogs out, you know, like, ooh, let the dogs out.
So why do I think The Hangover works so much? Well, because I think the way the characters are written, yes, they are flawed, but they are also very appealing and likable, and you do find yourself rooting for them. Also, the actors' performances really help to flesh out the characters and give them their appeal, and the chemistry between the actors is spot on. So if it's outrageous humour you seek, then I say check out The Hangover. Anyway, I'm Minty, and